Hi there, this is Morgan with Morgan Burks Photography and Product Shop, and today I'm going to show you how I edited this photo of me and my girl. This photo was taken on my sister's messy bed. I just sat down and she snapped a couple pictures of me and my daughter Alani. Um, and I mean, if I had taken time to clean this up beforehand, I wouldn't have to do it in Photoshop. But that's not always the case. So today I wanted to show you how I would clean this up and get it to look something like this. So, yeah, of course, you can lay down a white sheet or something like that, or, pick up all the messy stuff and get it out of the frame, which would be a lot easier than having to edit every single photo. In this case, it was just a couple quick pictures, so I didn't really clean up. I just kind of left it messy. So I'm going to show you how I cleaned it up for the final image. So I'm going to close these out, and then I will open it up again. Actually, cancel that. I shot this image in camera raw, or using raw, I'm sorry. But today I'm going to show you how you can open something like in camera raw even if you are working with a JPEG file. So I'm going to go to File, Open As, and I'm going to select the image here, and this one is the one I saved as a JPEG, so I can show you how to do it. If you did shoot in RAW, just double click it and it will open in Camera Raw without you having to change anything. But since this is a JPEG, I'm going to come over here where you change the document. Here it's set to a Photoshop document. I'm just going to select Camera Raw, and then I'm going to hit Open. Okay, so this is our starting point. If you're working in Lightroom, you can use these steps there as well. Some people edit in Lightroom before opening in Photoshop, and then other people who don't use Lightroom just edit in this ACR window and then open it in Photoshop. So I'm going to show you how to do that today. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to grab my, actually the first thing I'm going to do is brighten up a little, and just enough to get our features a little brighter. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab this adjustment brush, and I'm going to make sure that the exposure is raised all the way up. And this is just a personal preference for this photo since I want the background to be brighter. If you are sitting on a black blanket and you wanted to darken the background, you can lower your exposure to make everything darker. But for this photo, we're making it brighter so that it looks like a white background. So now I'm just going to go over the surroundings here with this brush. And it's not going to brighten everything the first time around, and that's fine. Just sweep over everything. You can kind of get close to the subjects here when you're using the exposure brush or an adjustment brush set to exposure. You can kind of get closer to the subjects, and all it's going to do is kind of brighten them. It's not going to cover them up at all, if that makes sense. So since I went over this already and not everything is gone, all I'm going to do is I'm going to hit New, and my exposure adjustment stayed the same. Oh, sorry, there's noise happening here. Okay, so I'm just going to sweep over it again. Once you hit New, it should allow you to go over the whole image again, and it just kind of doubles up the brightened effect instead of, giving you a stopping point where you can't go any brighter. Hitting New on the brush will allow you to go over it again. So here I'm going over us, and it's kind of getting on our feet. I didn't really mind that much, but you can make your brush smaller and be more precise in here if you want to. I'm going to do that now, getting close to here. Just got a little shelf back here, so I'm going to try to get rid of all that. Okay, then I'm going to hit New again. And again, this can be a little time consuming depending on what you have in the photo, but if you want to, you can stop when you get to a good amount of brightening. Like if there's just a little bit more in the frame, something like this, you can open this in Photoshop and just go over it with a white paintbrush. But if you're in Lightroom, that's not something you can do, so you just want to keep going over it with the exposure brush. Okay, so I'm going to go over it up here again, get in a little bit closer, and again, you can go over any of the details that need to be brightened, and then just make sure that you try to steer clear of anything you want to leave the original exposure. Sorry, that doesn't make sense. Basically, anything that you don't want to brighten, just make sure that you avoid that with your brush. If you make mistakes, you can hit the erase button and then just go over that, and it will remove the brightening from that spot. I'm going to hit New again, and going to go over it hopefully one last time. We'll see how it works. And getting close here again. And any mistakes that you've left, if you do have Photoshop, we can just fix that up when we get in there. Okay, so go over as many times as you need to for your photo, and again, just keep hitting new if you need to keep brightening. I'm just going to go ahead and leave it here, and then the rest I can do in Photoshop. So there's where we left off. Now, if you did want to get in here with this brush and brighten up the features, just hit new, and then adjust your exposure here, and then you can paint on your subject if you wanted to brighten them. I don't think that I do, so I'm going to undo that. Maybe I do. Actually, let me put a little on here, and then I'll just adjust the exposure as needed. There. I think that's pretty good. And then I can do a little over my clothing to brighten that up too. Okay, so once you're satisfied with what you've got going on, just hit Open Image. Hopefully your computer's a little bit quicker than mine. Goodness. Okay, so once it pops up, you can create a new layer. So I'm just going to hit this little sheet of paper right here. And then I'm going to grab my paintbrush tool, select the color of the background just by hitting Alt and clicking. Okay, and then I'm going to make my opacity 100. I did that just by hitting the 0 on my keyboard. And oh, it's going to go slow, of course. So it's going to load for me. But just go over any of the spots that you left when you did the exposure brush. And again, if you're working in Lightroom, you obviously won't be using these steps. You could continue brightening with your brighten brush if you're still in Lightroom. Alrighty, come on. Okay, and then just you can zoom in closer and grab a smaller brush and then just paint around anything that got left. Okay, so I'm just going to stop here. You can keep going and obviously do this a little bit neater than I did. There's still some stuff left over here, but we'll just pretend like we don't see that. So I'm going to zoom back out, and then once you're in here, you can edit how you normally do. I'm going to show you how I got it to have like a creamy matte effect. And so I'm going to do that by using a curves layer. Now, if you are in Photoshop Elements, you won't have curves. But if you're in Lightroom and in Photoshop, you will. So I will show you how to do that. Photoshop Elements users, you can use your favorite method for adding a matte effect. I've got another tutorial on my page that shows how to do it without using curves. That way my Elements users can have a fun, trick to use too. So for now, I'll show you the curves method. And since there's a lot of highlights in this image, I'm going to use mostly the highlight slider here on the curves layer. So I'm going to just kind of dull that out, and so I'm just dragging that point straight down, and that's kind of filling in those highlights with that creamy look. I'm going to lift up the middle a little bit to brighten, and then with this shadow tool, I'm just going to drag it over until I like the effect. You can lift it up higher, which will give you more of a matte effect, or dragging it down will kind of increase those shadows and give you a little bit of contrast in here. So I would just drag until you like it, and then you can see what you think after that. And then again, you can go back in and adjust these buttons more if you wanted more of a creamy look, less. That's up to you. So the last step that I did was I added a little bit of grain. I wanted some noise in here in the photo. I wanted it to look almost filmy, like film style. So what I did for that, and there's probably many ways to do this, I just went to solid color and I selected a mid-tone gray. Doesn't really matter. Just hit OK. And then I'm going to right click on this and hit rasterize. That just allows me to edit this layer. Otherwise you'll get like an error message or something like that. So then I went to filter, noise, add noise. And you can adjust this as you want. I've got this on monochromatic. You can undo that. You can play around with these settings. It won't really matter. Just kind of take a look and see what you like. So I'm just going to put some noise on there and then hit OK. And then you can just put this layer, once you're finished, put it in overlay blend mode. You can play with different blend modes as well. You can put it in hard light or something like that. And then I just lowered the opacity to like 50% or so. I didn't want it to be super noisy, just enough that it almost feels tangible, like you could reach out and touch it. So there is that. You can go over this, change it up, add different effects here. I think I might have added a little bit of saturation just so I could make the red in my hair stand out. And then I just kind of painted that in. So I just inverted that by hitting Control I, grabbed a white brush, and then painted that on my hair. I don't remember if I did that or not. I think I edited a couple different pictures in this series, but I probably would have brightened that up a little. And you can go through and darken things as well. Oh, I remember what I wanted to do. Sorry, got off topic there. Okay, so if you are an Elements user and you don't have a curves layer, here's what you can do. You can you grab levels, and then grab the bottom white slider and drag it over to fill in those highlights. And you can drag them over as much as you want. To brighten the midtones, like we did with the curve, you can just drag this over to the left a little, the top middle. And then to add that contrast in the shadows, you'll want to grab this black slider and just drag that over a little bit. And then there's your creamy matte effect. And you can fill this in as much or as little as you want to. And then you can turn that on and off, and you can see how that works as well. So that's another way to do it. If you don't have curves, or if you're not familiar and you don't really like to use curves, there's the option with levels as well. So there is that. And then I believe I also darkened my girl's hair a little bit. So I just dragged that down, I think, hit I, and then painted some of this in. I'm getting a little off topic here. It's mostly just to show you how to do the white background, but you can get in here and edit however you'd like after that. So that is how we did that. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. If you have any questions that I didn't cover with all my rambling, you're welcome to email me at morgan@morganburks.com, or you can find me on Facebook at facebook.com/morganburksphotography. Thank you so much for watching, and have a great day.